Mm. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Daria. If you're new here, hi, and welcome to this candlelight yoga practice. So it's pretty gloomy and rainy and cloudy in Chicago today, so I thought this would be the perfect time to make a cozy, feel-good candlelight yoga practice. And it's spooky season, episode 3. So for this class, if you're into candles and you have some, you can set them up surrounding your mat like I've done here, or just make your space feel as cozy and comfy as possible, whatever that means to you. And whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and get into it. We'll start our practice today on hands and knees. So make your way there. Bring your shoulders to stack over your wrists, hips over your knees, then spread all your fingers really, really wide and stick each one down to the mat. We'll begin just by bringing in some organic movement. So a few ideas would be to make circles with your rib cage, circles with your hips and your pelvis. Just begin to breathe more deeply and allow your body to be an open vessel for the breath and the movement to express. So as usual, it doesn't need to make any sense or follow a pattern or look any certain way. Try to let go of any expectations that you have and just begin to move and to breathe. Connect with the sensation of breath. What does it feel like as it enters your nostrils? What does it feel like as it fills you up from the bottom of your torso to the top? And then as you exhale, can you let something go on the stream of your breath each time? Become perhaps a bit softer, a bit more receptive, and a bit more free. And we'll take 2 more rounds of breath here. Move however you like. And when you're ready, go ahead and ground down into your palms. We'll tuck the toes behind and we'll glide back gently into an easy downward facing dog. Let this feel like it's the first stretch of your day so far. Really broad and expansive and deeply rooted down through palms of hands and soles of feet. You can pedal the feet by bending one knee and then the other. And continue deepening your breath. Breathing now into the back line of your body, down your spine, the back of your neck, into the crown of your head. And then from the core of your pelvis, down the hamstrings, the calves, the Achilles tendons, and back into the heels. And press more firmly down into your palms. Then as you inhale, lift your heels, charge your quads, and we'll round forward to high plank pose. Hug your belly up towards your spine. And then at the top, we'll sink both knees down to the mat at the very same time. Take an inhale to curl your tailbone toward the back of your space, widen your sitting bones, and stretch your heart forward. Then, as you exhale, bend your elbows, keep your hips high, but sink your heart and your chin down to the mat. Untuck your toes, and we'll roll all the way through, ripple through like you're a snake. Soften your low belly down toward the mat. Inhale, press the tops of your feet down. Anchor your toenails and then glide your heart forward, lift your palms, baby cobra. One more inhale here, lift into the activation in your back body. Then exhale, plant your palms, tuck your toes, coming through hands and knees, and we'll glide all the way up and back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your heels, round forward like a wave to high plank pose. Exhale, melt both of your knees gently down toward the mats. As soon as they touch, inhale, find a cow shape with the spine, inner thighs stretch back, heart reaches forward. Exhale, shift a little forward, shoulders move in front of wrists, then draw your elbows into your rib cage, sink your heart and your chin. Untuck your toes, wave forward, lift your pelvic floor up to your heart, and then relax your torso down. Inhale, baby cobra, float your palms, stretch your heart toward the top, traction your hands back towards your toes. And then plant the palms, tuck the toes, glide through hands and knees, all the way back to downward facing dog. We'll flow one more time just like this. Inhale, lift your heels, round forward, high plank. Exhale, melt your knees down. Inhale, cow, traction, palms of hands back towards your knees. Then exhale, elbows bend into your rib cage, heart melts, chin melts. Untuck your toes, ripple forward, drop your belly. Inhale, baby cobra, stretch more than you think you can. Lift up and forward. Then exhale, palms plant beside your rib cage. Tuck your toes and we'll glide it back, downward facing dog. Take a big full inhale through your nose. Then a clearing sigh out through your mouth. Let it be audible. On your next inhale, stretch high through your right leg for three-legged down dog. Try to keep your left knee micro bent. Then as you exhale, curl your right knee towards your chest and step right foot all the way to the top of your mat. Left knee sinks down. Inhale and interlace your fingers over the top of your right thigh. Bring your palms or your thumbs to face down toward the mat. Now, magnetize right heel and left knee toward each other to engage your inner thighs. Create a lifting action from your pelvic floor all the way up through the crown of your head. Keep all of this internal engagement and then begin to sink your hips down and forward. And we'll take a few rounds of breath here to soften the hips forward. Breathe into the front of your left hip, the psoas. Gradually working to shorten the distance, narrow the space between your right hamstring and your left calf. But remember to keep that internal action of scissoring your legs toward each other. 2 more breaths here. Keep lifting up high through the crown of your head. If your low back begins to get crunchy, back off a bit. Create more lift out of the low back. Good. Begin to squeeze your legs back together again, so stacking the right knee over the right heel. We'll create a rounded shape with the spine. Press your palms down into your right thigh. Tuck your tailbone and your pelvis forward. Hollow through your core and drop your chin towards your chest. So the sensation should be moving into the left hip, front of hip, psoas, hip flexor, maybe down into your quads. If you don't feel the stretch enough, try tucking your pelvis even more. Hollow your core more, press more firmly through your palms. Puff up the back of your heart toward the sky. And begin to neutralize your spine, lift your head, then shift your hips back down and forward, keeping the squeezing together. Drop your right elbow to the top of your right thigh. From here, kick your left heel in towards your sitting bone, stretch your left hand all the way around and grab your foot from the inside. Each time that you inhale, create a lift through your spine by pulling your feet toward each other. Each time that you exhale, draw your left heel in a bit closer and maybe begin to melt your hips down and forward. If you'd like to go in deeper, you can swivel the heel of your left hand around on the top of your foot so that your fingers point in the same direction as your toes. Elbow will go back. Take 2 more breaths here. Really send them to anywhere that feels tight. And then begin to rise all the way back up. You can release the foot if you had your grip. Frame your right foot with your fingertips, then pick up your left knee. We'll shift the hips back, turning the left toes out to 45 degrees. Root your left heel down. Pyramid pose. Outer right hip shifts back, left hip shifts forward. Create a strong press down through your right big toe mound and your right heel to avoid hyperextending or locking out through the knee. And as you inhale, lengthen your spine, stretching back through the core of your pelvis, reaching forward through the crown of your head. It's almost like a cow spine, so there's that little arc. And then on your exhale, melt your heart toward right toes. 2 breaths here. Notice if there's anywhere that you hold tension habitually. For me, it's always the mouth. Anytime I try to become aware of the tension, it's in my mouth or the tongue or somewhere surrounding that area. So for you, maybe it's the shoulders or the back of the neck, maybe the head, the scalp, feet, toes, fingers. Check and see where it's coming up for you. Take an inhale, halfway lift, elongate your spine, stretch it out. Then as you exhale, just pivot so that you face toward the long edge of your mat. So the feet will stay right where they are. We're moving into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Step your right fingertips to the inner arch of right foot. Root them down. Then begin to turn your rib cage toward the long edge of your mat as left fingertips sweep high. Outer left hip, pulling a bit back, but keep length in both sides of your body. Imagine that you could stretch longer through your whole torso, infinitely expanding. Now, imagine that there's a string connected to your left middle finger, and someone's lifting it up higher, higher, so you're floating away from the ground. Squeeze your inner thighs together, and eventually we'll rise all the way up to stand. Inhale, reverse triangle. Left fingertips slide down. Right fingertips reach all the way up and back. Expand more space between your right ribs. Inhale here. Then exhale, we'll slowly float all the way back down to Trikonasana triangle pose. This time, plug your left arm bone to the back of your heart, then stretch forward with your fingertips. Inhale. Exhale, revolve back to face your right foot. Plant your palms, and we'll pick up the right foot maybe to hover and glide back, downward facing dog. You can always just bend the knee, step back to downward facing dog however you can. Inhale, left leg lifts high, 3-legged down dog. Exhale, glide it through to the top of your mat. Step softly, softer than you've ever done before, and sink your right knee down. Then bring your palms to interlace over the top of left thigh with thumbs spinning down towards your mat. Squeeze energetically your legs together like you're closing a pair of scissors. Then pull up from the core of your pelvis all the way to the crown of your head, so the spine stays lengthening. Take a few breaths to keep all of this engagement, and then begin to soften your hips down and forward. It's okay if the left knee shifts a little forward of the heel, as long as it's okay on your joints and your low back. So rather than just sinking our weight down, we're staying really, really active and engaged. Core is connected. Spine is lengthened. 2 more rounds of breath here. And then begin to shift it back so that left knee comes back to stack over left ankle. Press the palms down into left thigh, really, really hollow through your core, and begin to tuck your tailbone forward. Sitting bones scoop underneath you. Create a really strong action of pulling your belly button back towards your spine, and then keep pulling it back as if it's gonna go all the way through the back of your body. Squeeze your inner thighs together a bit more as we stay here for 1 breath. And slowly you can rise your heart back to a neutral spine. Now we'll shift the hips a bit more forward, but keeping the engagement in the inner thighs. Drop your left elbow to the top of your thigh here. Keep length, kick your right heel in, and then reach to grab for the inside. So you can play a bit and find the sensation that's working for you today. It will feel different with the hips shifted a bit back, as if your right sitting bone and right heel are magnetized, than if the hips are shifted more forward. Again, perhaps you bring the heel of right hand to the top of your foot and then spin the fingers to face the top of your mat, elbow back. Keep your shoulder blades pulling together, collarbones wide so the chest is proud. And settle into what you're feeling. Dig deeper into the sensation. This does not necessarily mean going deeper into the posture, just deeper into the sensation. Gently release and make your way out. Tuck your right toes back behind you. Frame the left foot with your fingertips. Take an inhale here to lift your right knee, and an exhale will glide back to pyramid pose. Right toes go out to 45-ish, right heel roots. Shift your outer left hip back as you pull your right hip toward the top of your mat. Then inhale and create that cow shape in the spine, stretching back through the inner thighs, forward through your heart. As you exhale, cascade and melt your torso over your left thigh. If you like, it's always an option to bring blocks, books, anything that you have under your fingertips to elevate them away from the earth. Breathe deeply into the back line of your left leg and keep pressing your feet into the earth actively. On your next inhale, reach your spine into a halfway lift. Stretch evenly back and forward. Then begin to swivel to face toward the long edge of your mat. Anchor the knife edge of right foot. Step left fingertips to the inside inner arch of left foot. As you inhale, turn your torso toward the right side of your mat. Right fingertips reach high and gaze up with your left eye. Now, again, imagine that someone's pulling on a string that's connected to your index finger as you slowly rise all the way up to stand, feet pressing down, anchoring you there. Inhale, right fingertips drop back behind you as left fingertips rise, reverse triangle. And then exhale, float all the way back down to Trikonasana. Right or left fingertips root. Right fingertips this time stretch all the way toward the top of your mat. Bring your bicep beside your ear. Create one long line from knife edge of right foot all the way through right fingertips. One last reach. And then spin back to face the top of your mat. Plant your palms, pick up your right heel, pick up your left foot, hollowing your core, and we'll glide back downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your heels, wave forward, high plank pose. Exhale, micro bend knees and elbows, glide right back downward facing dog. Sink both of your knees down to the mat. Shift your hips back to sit on your heels. Bring your palms to face up on your thighs. Take a moment here to breathe and close your eyes. And let anything that's coming up just be, noticing without any judgment or any expectations. And then blink your eyes open. We'll draw the right shin to the top of the mat, aligning it somewhere between 45 and 90 degrees, setting up for half pigeon. Then crawl your left toes back behind you. Square your hips by scissoring your legs toward each other. Lift up through your heart and your spine. And then as you're ready, you can begin to fold forward. Wouldn't be a cozy flow without half pigeon pose. So try to find where you can feel cozy, even with the stretch. Notice as intensity arises with the sensations, what your relationship is to that intensity. Is there sort of a contraction that happens or a fear that comes up when something feels really intense? And if so, are you able to softly and with compassion shift away from that fear and become more curious about what you're experiencing? Let go of your jaw, let go of your forehead, let your temples soften. And stay here for 2 more sweet and full and healing breaths. Press down into your forearms or whatever's connected, and we'll crawl the fingertips softly back in. Roll onto your right sitting bone and swing your left leg all the way around to the top of your mat. Anchor the sole of left foot down in front of you, and then cross your right ankle over your left thigh, creating a figure 4 shape in the legs. Bring your fingertips back behind you, facing towards your pelvis. Then press down into your palms and your left foot, and we'll begin to lift the hips up. Big front body stretch with figure 4 legs. You can drop your head if that feels comfortable. Stretch through your throat. This doesn't need to be the most the craziest lift. Just where you feel some stretch into your arms, your shoulders, your heart. And then we'll softly release all the way back down. Sink your sitting bones to the mat. Let your head be the last thing to lift. From here, we'll roll down to lie on your back, keeping the legs as they are in the figure 4 shape, and interlace your fingers either behind your left hamstring, maybe thread all the way through to the front of the shin, or really whatever is accessible for you. And keep an active flex in the right toes, and use your right elbow as some gentle leverage to encourage the knee to widen. Root your sacrum, root the back of your heart, root the back of your head. You can close your eyes to go more internally for 1 or 2 more rounds of breath here. If you close your eyes, blink them open. Undo your right ankle from your left thigh. Bring your hands to the backs of your legs, and we'll just rock all the way up to a seat. Now the left shin goes forward for half pigeon. Crawl your right toes back behind you. Set yourself up to feel cozy, supported, lifted tall through your spine. And then when you're ready, you can begin to fold forward, untuck your right toes. Notice the thoughts as they arise. And just observe them as they flow by. Now imagine, since we are here with our candles, imagine that your hips are made of wax and that your breath is a flame. So you're breathing warmth into the hips, creating a more liquid sensation, melting a bit more with each and every breath. And begin to rise all the way back up, pressing down, walking fingertips in. This time we'll sink over toward the left sitting bone and swing your right leg all the way around to the top of your mat. Anchor your right sole of your foot down. Cross your left ankle over your right thigh as you bring your palms back behind you, fingertips pointing towards your pelvis. Press into the earth and then begin to lift your sitting bones away from the mat, expanding into a big front body stretch. Keep a micro bend in your elbows, squeeze your shoulder blades together, and then perhaps drop your head back. You can play with a subtle shift forward and back of your weight, coming more into your toes and fingertips, then back toward the heels of your hands and your right heel. One more breath here. And a gentle release, sink your sitting bones back down, and finally lift your head up. We'll roll all the way down to lie on our backs, keeping the left ankle crossed over the right thigh. And then find what works for you, wherever is accessible to grab, whether that's the hamstring, the shin, or anywhere else. And left toes are flexed. Soften your eyelids, soften your jaw, soften your outer left hip. Undo your left ankle from right thigh. Pull both of your knees into your chest and then curl into a nice and tight ball. Wrap your forearms around your shins. Take a big inhale here. Let it fill up every fiber of your body. And a clearing exhale as you release down into Savasana. If you do have candles at the edges of your mat, just proceed with a bit of caution. And then soften down into the earth beneath you. Allow the back of your head to soften, the back of your heart, the fronts of shoulders, all the way down to the palms of your hands and your fingers. Imagine that you're holding sandbags in your palms that are anchoring you deeper into the earth. And soften the front of your heart, your low belly and your pelvis, down your legs, the calves, the ankles, soften through your feet and all 10 toes. And allow yourself to totally drop, surrender, and bask under the blanket of gravity. You're welcome to stay longer if you have time to rest more. If you're ready to be guided out, begin to imagine that there is a little flame sparking, being lit right in the pit of your belly. Allow your breath to fan the flame so that it grows. And then let it spread all the way up to your heart space, clearing congestion. And then spread that sparkly, fiery energy down your arms, into your hands, on your fingers. And then down your legs, into the feet and the toes. Bring little flickers back to fingertips and toe tips, gently waking back up. And on your next inhale, reach your arms back behind you, point your toes forward, stretch out into a long body stretch. Inhale here. And then as you exhale, let your body drip like candle wax right into fetal pose. Soften down, one breath. Try, if you can, to keep your eyes closed as you rise all the way up to a seat, Sukhasana. Anchor your sitting bones down beneath you, a solid foundation from which to grow your spine, lift your heart, soften your shoulders. Let your palms face up on your thighs and take another breath into that little fire inside of you. On the exhale, feel the effects of this practice on body and mind. Draw your palms to meet in front of your heart and allow your whole body to feel lit with this vibrant, fiery energy. And then lift your thumbs up to your third eye space and bow forward. Namaste. Thank you so much for spending some time flowing and moving and practicing with me on this gloomy, cloudy day. I hope you're feeling cozy, and I hope you're feeling a bit of that fiery spark inside after this practice. If you're not already, make sure to go down below and subscribe to my channel because that really supports me. But I hope that you have a great day. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next practice. Bye.